This is the second Physics Chemistry Grade 9 podcast, and this podcast will be dealing with how we process our raw data, specifically using Microsoft Excel. In the first podcast we looked at how to collect raw data in our notebooks, and we ended up with a table something like this. As you can see, I changed the height, I increased my heights. The heights I chose were way too small and I couldn't really record time to any degree of precision. So I changed the heights, I doubled the heights, and I ended up with a range from 0.2 meters, 20 centimeters, up to 1.4 meters. These are the times that I recorded. As you can see, 0.21, 0.19, 0.21 at 0.2 meters. They're not all exactly the same. There's a bit of random scatter in the data. So what I'm going to try to do this podcast is I'm going to take this raw data that I collected in class and I'm going to transfer it across to a spreadsheet program, Microsoft Excel, and I'm going to use the spreadsheet to do various things for me, including working out the average values for these times and also plotting a graph for me. So here's my Microsoft Excel ready to go. This is the new Mac version, and if you're a PC user it'll look slightly different. And I've zoomed in, as you can see, to 200% here so you can see what's going on the screen. So the first thing I need to do is I need to organize my data table, because I can use this table that I create to include in a lab report. It looks very nice and neat. So it's worth spending a few moments organizing a data table so that it looks nice and neat. So in the same way as I did with my data table in my book, I want it to look something like this. I want to have the left column for the independent variable, the right column for the dependent variable, and 3 sub-columns. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. I'm going to set up the data table. So I'm going to click and drag to highlight the area that I'm interested in. Now I have 7 rows of data, and I'm going to need a couple of rows at the top for my headings. So that in total is 9 rows in this case. I've got 7 sets of data. So I need to put the borders in, and I can't see the toolbar that I want, so I'm going to add a toolbar here, the formatting toolbar, which you may see in your version of Excel already. And this is the borders button that I want to click here. Now there's options, but I want to put borders around all my cells, and there they have appeared. All the borders have appeared. I need to do a couple of other things to make it look like this, and that is I need to merge some cells. I want this to be a long oblong cell, so I'm going to select those 3 cells and I'm going to click the merge button right here. Also, I need to merge these 2 cells together, select the 2 and then click merge. So now my table looks the way I want it to look. I can now start adding the information I want to put in here. So in this cell I can write height, meters. In this cell, time in seconds. This cell, 1, 2 and 3. And if I select those 3 cells, I can format it so that those numbers appear in the center. And that's the way I want it to look. Now I can start putting my data in. 0.2, 0.4, 0.6, and so on. So magically I've inputted all my data. There it is. You can see it looks pretty similar to my raw data table. A couple of differences. 0.40, 1.0, 0.30. When I input it into Excel, the zeros vanish. Now I want to put those back because it does indicate a sort of certain level of precision. So I'm going to put those back, and this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to select all the data, and I'm going to make sure that they all are recorded, or these ones at any rate, are recorded to 1 decimal place. These tabs up here will do it. This tab here, this button here, indicates that it will take me from 2 decimals down to 1 decimal, or it will reduce the number of decimal places by 1. This button will increase the number of decimal places by 1. That seems to be what I want to do. Let's press that and see what happens. That's too many. Let's go down 1. That's more like it. So I had to go increase 1 and then decrease 1. And you can just muck around with those until you see what you like. So let's try that again. That's too many. Go back. And now we have what we want. All of these ones to 2 decimals and these ones to 1 decimal. So now I want to start processing my data. And the first thing I want to do is to work out the average value of time, the average time value. I'm going to create another little table which is going to include my processed data. Now, as I said in the first podcast, the first column is going to be the same, the height, and the second column is going to be just the processed data, the average values. So I'm going to copy this first column here, and I'm going to paste it over here. And then the next column is going to be average time in seconds, I'm going to call that. So I'm going to merge these 2 top cells again in the same way as I merge these cells. There's the merge button. And I'm going to type in average time. In seconds. Now that seems to be too big for the cell there. So there's a thing I can do to allow all the text to fit, and that is to click the wrap text button, which is just up here. So I'm going to click that, wrap text, and it's going to make it all visible. So that's what we've got. Now I need to get Excel to work out the averages so that they appear in these cells here. Excel is very clever. It has various functions, and this is the function button up here. And if I click the little down arrow next to it, you can see average is appearing right there. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight the cell where I want the average of these values to appear. And I'm going to go up and I'm going to click average, and it's asking me the average of what, and I need to tell it. The computer is not clever enough. It needs me to tell it, and it's these 3 values. So I'm going to click and drag these 3 values, tell the computer what I want to calculate the average of, and when I hit enter, we should get the average of those values. So I'm going to hit enter, and there's the average of those values. So I need to do that for all of the data, but here's a quick way. I'm going to go back to that initial cell, and I'm going to highlight that cell. I'm going to move my pointer to the bottom right until I get a small black cross, and I'm going to click and drag all the way down, and it will automatically apply what I did to that first cell to all the subsequent cells. A very quick trick. So now I'm done with that. I've calculated all of the averages, and I have the necessary information to plot the graph. So in the next podcast we will move on and we will work on how to plot the graph.